Today, we walk through the life and legacy of a man born in the humblest of cabins, who rose to lead a nation through its darkest hours, a man whose words and deeds echo through history. With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds. These immortal words from Lincoln's second inaugural address capture the very essence of the man, humble yet resolute, kind yet unwavering in his principles. Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, in a simple one-room log cabin in Hardin County, Kentucky. His family was poor. His parents, Thomas and Nancy Lincoln, had no fame, no fortune. Life on the frontier was hard, and young Abraham grew up working with his hands, splitting logs, farming, surviving. When Abraham was only 9 years old, tragedy struck. His mother died. His father moved the family to Indiana, where Lincoln continued to endure the hardships of rural life. But inside this quiet, lanky boy was a burning curiosity, a thirst for knowledge that could not be quenched. He had little formal education, yet he borrowed every book he could find, teaching himself history, law, philosophy, and the great speeches of the founding fathers. Lincoln's early years as an adult were a patchwork of odd jobs: rail splitter, store clerk, surveyor, but his keen mind and honest nature soon brought him to the practice of law. On the Illinois circuit, he earned the respect of his peers and the nickname Honest Abe. He was known not just for his sharp legal mind, but also for his remarkable ability to resolve disputes peacefully, encouraging his clients to settle disagreements outside of court. He also charmed those around him with his wit and self-deprecating humor. "If I were two-faced, would I be wearing this one?" he once quipped, poking fun at his own appearance. In 1842, after a long and hesitant courtship, Lincoln married Mary Todd. Their union was sometimes stormy. Mary was emotional and strong-willed, but they shared a deep love and 4 children. Only one of their sons, Robert, would survive to adulthood, and the deaths of their other children weighed heavily on both parents. Lincoln's growing interest in public issues led him into politics. In 1847, he was elected to Congress as a representative for Illinois. There, he made his opposition to President Polk's handling of the Mexican-American War clear, denouncing it as an unjust land grab. This position cost him politically, and he did not win re-election. Lincoln returned to his law practice, believing his political career might be over, but the national debate over slavery pulled him back into the fray. The 1850s saw the United States teetering on the brink of division. Lincoln, who abhorred slavery, emerged as a powerful voice opposing its expansion into new territories. He argued passionately that America must live up to its founding ideals. "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal." Lincoln had an extraordinary ability to empathize even with those who disagreed with him, but he was firm in his moral convictions. In 1858, he ran for the Senate, facing off against Stephen Douglas. Their debates captivated the nation, showcasing Lincoln's eloquence and moral clarity. In one of his most famous speeches, he warned, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." Though he lost the Senate race, Lincoln's reputation grew, setting the stage for his rise to national prominence. In 1860, Lincoln was nominated as the Republican candidate for president. Despite being seen as a political outsider, his speeches, particularly at Cooper Union in New York, resonated deeply with audiences in the North. "Let us have faith that right makes might, and in that faith, let us dare to do our duty as we understand it." In November 1860, Lincoln was elected the 16th President of the United States. His election, however, ignited fury in the South, where secessionist sentiment boiled over. One by one, Southern states declared their independence, plunging the nation into civil war. Lincoln's presidency was defined by the Civil War. Leading a divided nation through years of bloody conflict tested his patience, his resolve, and his faith. He made the bold decision to include his political rivals in his cabinet, showing his remarkable ability to set aside personal differences for the greater good. He took personal responsibility for military decisions, promoted General Ulysses S. Grant to lead the Union forces, and worked tirelessly to keep the northern states united. Initially, the war was about preserving the Union, but Lincoln knew the issue of slavery lay at the heart of the conflict. On September 1862, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation. All persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of a state shall be thenceforward, and forever free. The proclamation, which took effect January 1, 1863, turned the tide, making the abolition of slavery a central aim of the war. In November 1863, after the bloody Battle of Gettysburg, Lincoln delivered what many consider the greatest speech in American history. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. By 1865, after 4 years of devastation, the Union finally prevailed. Lincoln's vision had saved the nation. He urged mercy and reconciliation. With malice toward none, with charity for all, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds. On January 31, 1865, the 13th Amendment abolishing slavery passed Congress. But just days after the Confederate surrender, tragedy struck. On April 14, 1865, Lincoln was shot by John Wilkes Booth while attending a play at Ford's Theater. He died the next morning, and the nation wept. Lincoln's death only magnified his legacy. He is remembered as the great emancipator, the man who saved the Union and redefined American freedom. Frederick Douglass, who sometimes criticized Lincoln, said after meeting him, "He treated me as a man. He did not let me feel for a moment that there was any difference in the color of our skins." Giuseppe Garibaldi, the Italian revolutionary, called Lincoln's title as Great Emancipator, more noble than any crown. And a century later, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. evoked Lincoln's memory when he said, 5 years ago, a great American, in whose symbolic shadow we stand today, signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Lincoln's integrity, his vision, and his humanity continue to inspire not just Americans, but people around the world. From a humble cabin in Kentucky to the White House, from splitting logs to uniting a broken nation, Abraham Lincoln's life reminds us that greatness comes not from privilege, but from character. Thank you for joining us today on Voices of History. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share. And remember,